Alright, hello everybody, Rufi here with another play and explain video for ValueHeavy. Today we'll play 25 zoom on Pokerstars, see if we get some interesting spots. And yeah, gonna keep the theme of the videos similar in the sense that we'll try to play as many pots against fish as possible, attack the usually tight and passive regulars on the stakes, and just see if we can learn a few things along the way. So with that being said, let's hop into it. I was also trying to implement your feedback of setting up the graph, which you can see now the bottom right, and while doing so I played a couple of hands and actually managed to win a stack or so. So just keep that in mind that the session that from now on starts, we're already up by 140 big blinds. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Also, let me know if you'd rather prefer to see the graphs in big blinds or in the dollar or euro amount in this case. First hand here on table 2 against the cutoff, I will 3-bet. And then on the left hand side against 2 recreational, I'll open a bit wider, the king 6. I think that's gonna be fine. You want to be opening wider with recreationals behind, who probably don't 3-bet you. This here with a regular in the big blind and a fish in the small blind, I think is a bit too wide. Probably something like jack 8 off I would open here. Just some folds, 7-5 will open if it folds to me. So there was also a comment, I think, why I have notes on and most of these people tagged, even though I don't play the stakes. 7-5 is just a fold, and queen 6 I'll defend, and it's just the main reason that you know, I played on Pokerstars Italy probably since I started grinding low stakes, 2nl, 5nl, 10nl, and so I have notes from back in the days, and also some of these recreationals sometimes hop into 100nl, 200nl when they had a winning session or when they just deposited. That's why I have some notes on them. So here we defend the ace jack, would float against a small sizing, against a big sizing, which is a fine strategy on this board, but very often a sign that he's just gonna be too equity driven. We'll just fold it right away with the ace jack. 5-4 against 2 recreationals. I will be opening if it folds to me, and the queen 5 I'll defend against an open raise. After this guy folded, so we'll open here, and the queen 5 I'll defend. We get a jam, easy fold. And yeah, nothing really we can do here, just a couple of folds. So yeah, one thing, this poker tracker doesn't show the updates live, so I always have to keep clicking the refresh button. You can see the graph goes down a bit. I hope you can see it. I tried to make the quality as good as possible, but yeah, no, it's not you know, it's not perfect because I had to crop the window, but I hope you can see it well enough. So I opened the queen 9 here with the recreational big blind, again somewhat lose all these 9x offsuit hands on the loser side, but I think if people are a bit too passive, it's usually fine. In this case we do get 3-bet, so maybe they aren't. Well, I had a king 10 here, I will 3-bet. This guy opens 3x, he looks to be a little bit tighter. He's a bit shorter, so I think we'll size down from 12 big blind to like 11.2, and obviously folding if he re-raises. On this board, it's one that hits him quite well. I don't mind starting with a check here, and then mainly planning to bluff if he checks behind. The pocket 4, so I will start with a check, although we could lead, and now I will start with a large bet direction all in. We have ace king, ace queen. He's gonna have a lot of pocket pairs that he checked behind, you know, some king queens himself. Now that he checked around here, I think I have the best hand quite a lot. I have a redraw as well, so I'll just start betting out, trying to get caught by ace highs, maybe 3x hands. I don't think there's a lot of deuce x in their range. And here against a recreational and a big blind, I don't mind either betting small or checking behind. I think both options work well. This guy seems a bit more passive, 26-14, so I'd rather go for a small bet myself. And we do actually get check raised, which is interesting. Pot is strong, third check raise is nutted. So interesting having this note. I'm not, again, like not sure how long ago I have this note or if this is true, because my hand would normally always be calling here. Once he check raises here, it's close. But yeah, I don't mind the fold, and then I just hope my note is correct and not too old. Like if he, I mean, if a flush draw, he's still decent out of equity. This one is close. Maybe he read too much into my note here. Here we open against the recreational. We'll start with a small c-bet, and the queen 5 is just a fold. And we made the nuts. That's obviously great. Don't think there's too much merit in slow playing here. I think I just want to make sure I stack a queen or a second jack. Potentially king 10. Is he ever gonna bluff raise me? I don't think so. I think I just want to size up. I think a queen still is gonna call 1. I think a jack also, obviously, king 10 as well. And yeah, in this case it's not one where we block a lot of his calls, given that we turned the ace, we didn't flop the ace, so he can still have a queen or a jack. Now the question is just what's the best sizing to get in all the money. We defended against the min open, just have to fold now. Do we rather jam or do we pick a smaller sizing? I think versus a jam he's supposed to fold a lot of jack X, maybe even some king 10. I don't think he's gonna do that, so I will take the line and just jam. And we get snapped off by a jack, right? So this is a great example of recreational players not understanding the difference between absolute and relative hand strength, right? Like his hand is strips, which, you know, is generally really strong hand, but in this case against my action, actually just a bluff catcher. Here the king jack, after we 3-bet, I will go for like 10 big blinds here. Pretty good board for me. Queen 10 is obviously just a fold, so in this case I just want to maximize with my strong hands. And turn, I think we just jam here, put max pressure on his ace queen, ace jack high and pocket pairs here, as I would also with a lot of my overpairs here, and we get the fold. Ace 8 with the recreational behind. I think this is one of these hands that doesn't play very well multi-way, so we'd rather just fold it. And yeah, here we were shorter. We kind of set up the stacks for to play for stacks on a turn, and obviously on such a turn we can go for it along with jamming our 10s, 9s, and then maybe, yeah, use the hearts as bluffs. Ace king here, very easy 3-bet, so I think now I have to refresh the poker deck. Yeah, you see the graph going up now. Facing a 3-bet, we can really go small here. We don't need to go really large. We're in position. We called 4-bet with a really strong range, and then 5-3 obviously defending. Flopping top pair without the backdoor flush draw. Still a board where I expect a lot of c-bets. He sizes up, which is interesting, to half pot. I think I would check raise my 5x with the backdoor flush draw and probably just call this one, although I wouldn't mind also check raising this one. But we'll just check call. Queen, really good card for him. He gets to barrel a lot here. He can still value bet 10s, jacks, etc. He actually checks behind the jack, comes in river. Not a good run out, right? Like most of his bluffs get there now. I think the plan is to check down. Do we ever wanna like block bet really small against them, like ace 4, ace king? No, I think the plan is to check, and left hand side I just go for small range bet. Do we ever check raise this hand? Would be a decent candidate to check raise here on the river. Here we c-bet. We'll check the turn. It's ace 10. Interesting here, but I think on the jack it's too thin to value bet. The river is maybe a a brick like a 4 or 6, we could go for a small block bet trying to get called by ace king, ace jack, ace 10. Here we see bet goes check check, he bets. Not the greatest of all spots, but I think we just click call with a top pair. He can have some king high floats that he turns into bluffs here. So but obviously he's gonna have a queen quite often. He's gonna also check raise his queen connects quite often, but he's gonna have like all the suited king X. The 9-8 here will actually defend against a normal sizing, and then just have to fold here, and the ace 8 I will fold here. Not the greatest spot here, right? When the jack comes, you know, his natural king 10, jack 10 kind of made a pair. So it's not like he has that many bluffs. But I think he's gonna have enough of the king high hands against this sizing. If we were over betting, I think we can just fold here. But I wouldn't bluff catch here with a jack, for example. If I had king jack here, I think that would be quite a poor bluff catcher. Because we block king 10, but I think we block more of the bluffs that he could have, like the king 9, the king 8 suited, king 7 suited, that should all float on the flop against a small sizing. Just a couple of folds for now. 7-5 folding, 9 deuce also folding, 5-3 folding, ace 3, depending on the open size we can defend or not, and blind for sure we defend. Could also 3-bet, but I'm not too big of a fan of 3-betting polarized against a recreational. I'd rather just go for a linear 3-betting range. Gonna obviously call against a half pot, definitely call the turn, and once he checks, the hands that I want to bet, that I want to reopen here, are gonna be really polar, probably something around like ace 10 or better, maybe ace 8 or ace 6 with the redraw, and this hand is just gonna check back, and then go for value bet on the river, trying to get called by king queen, king jack, jack 10, queen 10. And on the left here we 3-bet and got a cold call. Don't mind going for a really small c-bet. We could also start with a check. His range is gonna be a lot of ace queen, ace jack, and then pocket pairs, which we're ahead of. We get check raised multi-way with a recreational. So I'll fold here, and obviously this is quite exploitative, but think about what this guy is check raising here into two opponents on the flop when this guy is short stack behind, right? So first of all, there's not a lot of bluffs. Like, he would need to bluff like 4-5 suited, which is the only natural bluff, and otherwise he needs to turn like a pocket pair into a bluff. A7 here, I'll go for a small c-bet with the ace of spades. Otherwise it's not the greatest board. But yeah, he check raises with this guy being really short, being a recreational, and quite unlikely that he will fold here. Also kind of committing himself, right? So like, does he really bluff here, knowing I can have all the aces, ace king, ace queens, etc. Just quite an unlikely spot. Eights we can mix between 3-bet or call. I'll just call this time. So yeah, just likely that he has like ace queen, ace 8, pocket 8s, pocket deuces here, and not really a bluff. We actually face a large c-bet on this board. I think we still have to call, but it's not great when he sizes up on this flop. And on the 9 we should have some leads, just because mainly when we continue we have 9x and then like pairs on the flop, flushes. I don't mind a small lead. I don't think he's gonna raise that often enough with his draws. And if he barrels again, I'm in a really shitty spot with my pocket 8s here, where I probably just have to fold, you know, not having a lot of equity. But if he large bets the flop with a head like king jack with one spade, and then always folds him on a turn instead of considering sometimes to float, sometimes to raise, I think the lead overperforms, and it's definitely something I should be doing in practice. In theory, gonna 3-bet here. We're 150, 160 big blinds deep almost, so I'll size down a bit when I'm out of position. You get a jack high flop. Way deeper is an interesting spot. I think deeper you actually want to size down a bit, so we'll just go for 1/3 c-bet here, and here obviously 4-bet. I think something like 19 is good. We're not that deep, but you know, it's a recreational 3-betting from the big blind. I don't think he's gonna fold a lot. He does indeed fold. 7s I will 3-bet here. So I'm not, you know, 100% studied here in these 152 and a big blinds deep for sure. So open to corrections, but the general heuristics that I've spotted is that once you get deeper, you use smaller c-bet sizes, right? Because if I have ace jack here, pocket queens, I'm not as happy stacking off as if I had 100 big blinds deep. Here will defend the pocket 7s against tighter guys. You could also fold here, facing a 4-bet. This guy might actually just be a regular, so I'll just remove this tag for now. Here without a diamond, without a club, I will just check this behind. Facing a really, really small c-bet with the backdoor straight. I think I have to float, but it's really close on a king high flop. And then folding on a turn against a pot size bet. And yeah, on the ace now we can just fold. Potentially turn our hand in the bluff once he checks, although he shouldn't really check a lot. He can have aces and kings as traps. Maybe ace king as a trap here too. But yeah, once he bets, we obviously have to fold. I think on the flop, I don't mind floating with 7s particularly, and then with hands like ace queen with the backdoor and king x and the rest just fold. I would fold jacks and 10s on the flop, but I think 7s has a very clean out, has some potential to either bluff later or turn some equity on a 9 or on a 5. That's why I called. Opening 3-6, also a bit loose, but I think it's fine at these limits with somewhat passive guys behind. Starting with a small c-bet here, taking it down. It's not so, yeah, nothing wrong with just folding 7 sprees against tighter opponents. Jack 5 I will be opening. Let's update the graph. So up 1 buy-in. Remember we started at around 140 more or less. Opening the king jack. Calling 3-bets. But once he calls, these low boards, generally 8 high boards or lower, are pretty good for the big blind, and we can just do a lot of checking here, which I'll do with my hand. Obviously I don't have anything going for it anyway, and then facing a bet we just have an easy fold here. I'll continue my ace highs with hearts or gut shots, but on this board I don't need to defend hands such as king jack high, no backdoor. 9-5 also a bit loose, but again I think it's fine at this stakes to open. Was trying to steal the blind. So a lot of the things that I'm doing here that I would recommend you to do are rather simple. You know, no need to do anything too fancy to, you know, get a decent win rate at these levels. Here we face a min 3-bet. Right? Don't overcomplicate your life. 3-bet your 4-bet your strong hands. No need to really 4-bet bluff a lot, and just call everything else. We're not gonna fold anything here, and then just see how he's reacting post flop. Generally a bit weaker, obviously, if they go for a smaller 3-bet size than compared to larger, but you know, can still be strong hands. We make a top pair facing half pot, we'll call. Pretty ugly turn, and I think now we're just mainly planning to take it to showdown. We could think about bluffing aces, kings, but I don't think we have enough reads to know that works, although the snap check is quite weak. But I think with a top pair we do just check it. I was about to say once another spade rolls off, I think we can try to bluff and basically free roll to get him off a chop. I don't think he snap checks twice with a spade, so we'll go for a bluff here and get punished absolutely by the double snap check and then the raise. Yeah, and here we just fold. Kind of eyes at the ace 8 here, so misleading timing tells, but I think it's fine to bluff here, trying to get him off a chop. I would very, very rarely expect check raise, even though it did happen in this case. I wouldn't let the, wouldn't let that, you know, I'm still fine with my play, even though it, you know, it did happen that he check raised me in this case. 3-betting the ace king here, 9-9-8. I would go half board or check. I think both plays are fine. Yeah, I will start with a check. And the 5's folding here, checks behind, so he's kind of capping himself. The 7, unfortunately, is a bit of a good card for him, otherwise we could start blasting once he checks back this flop. Now the question is, do I want to, with my hand, either have a block bet or a check here, trying to get caught by some ace highs, instead of turning my hand into bluff catch. I don't mind that. Trying to get caught by ace queen, ace jack, ace 10. I don't think he's finding enough raises. Whenever I say something, the opposite happens. And yeah, now I will just fold. And we see with the pocket fours, and now I'm not going to fold to a raise. Bit unfortunate. If we refresh the graph, we see it going down. Checking again would be a standard play here, but I think once he checks behind on this board quite quickly, we will go for a small bet on the turn. We see get called by ace queen, ace jack, ace 10, which I think he's gonna have more often than not, and I don't expect him to raise enough with hands like queen 10 or king 10 here. Either just fold or call those hands, and then we can bluff catch on the river against those. And I think also he's not going to value bet his pocket pair as well. If I check to him, I put myself in the bluff catching situation, which I think is a bit worse. Table 2, these jack high boards, really good for the 3-better here. I'm going to use half pot at a really high frequency here. And obviously my hand is just going to bet twice with the nut flush draw, and then probably has to give up on the river. Think about jack jabbing here in the turn. But I think just, continue betting is the best, and small, left hand side, I'll go for a small c-bet. We take it down, and I think if he calls, I would need to give up with another flush draw on the river, just blocking too many bluffs, unless I think he's massively overfolding there, which I don't think he is. Opponent in the tank here with the aces, fortunately does decide to fold. Against the recreational here, I'll start with a check. Could also go with ace four c-bet. It's fine. I'll just start with a check call here. I think whatever hands he has are very likely to continue putting in money on the turn, and I can still raise him there. And now once he goes for a somewhat small sizing, I wanna raise him. I don't think he's betting at 5 very often for the sizing, so if he has a jack or worse, I think I wanna obviously stack that hand. And also, by not polarizing, I don't think he's gonna bluff enough on the river, so I'd rather raise myself. And we'll just get folds really often, but I think checking is just calling, hoping he's bluffing enough on the river. Maybe he even checks back a jack on like a queen or a king would be a disaster, so I think raising is the play there. Also check raising flop completely fine, but with aces particularly I don't mind just check calling and delaying it to the turn. So we want a couple more big blinds. Graph goes back up. 7-8 I'll be open raising. 9-7 just folding. Ace queen 6, good board for me. Obviously you could play large bets against the recreational, so I prefer just a small sizing, and also really my hand is not that strong of a hand, so I don't mind just starting with a small sizing. And now the question is, do I want to barrel the turn or check back to then bluff on the river? I think both options are fine. I think with low equity against the recreational, I'm just building my range and betting my high equity hands and then checking my low equity hands. While against the regular, I think there would have been a fine barrel here. And now on the river, I'm going for a large bet against his snap check, expecting a lot of folds here. Sometimes I can represent a 6 here that is somewhat credible, and if he has like a queen or a jack that checks this fast or a give up, I'd rather go for a large sizing attacking that. 3-betting the pocket jacks here, taking it down. Ace 5 loose open, I think it's fine, and we fold against the 3-bet. Nine 6 just a fold. King queen opening. 8-7 against a tighter looking fish regular, could also open. Jack 5 I will open blind to blind, and the ace 3 I will 3-bet against the button. We get the fold. Pocket 4 is opening against into the tight looking recreational that we saw before. We saw a lot of timing tells. This is interesting. Against when this guy 3-bets with 6%, I think he's going to be really strong, but he's sized down, giving me kind of a better price. I think I'm still folding, although hitting the set we're very likely to stack him, and some runners we might bluff him. This is close. 9 big blinds. Yeah, I think we're still calling. That's how implied odds a bit too good, and as some runners we can bluff him. Here I'll go for a check raise facing the c-bet. I'll use a large check raise sizing here because I'm mainly representing 2 pair better, and yeah, then just easy fold. I think here really close. If he sizes up, definitely folding. 3-betting the pocket 7s here, sizing up a bit because we're deeper. So the reason I call, eventually decided to call, is that I think, well, first of all, if he's really nitty, hitting a set will very often give me a stack, right? And then I think I'll also have the opportunity to bluff him on, let's say, an ace high board. If he has kings, queens, jacks, I think I'll be able to bluff him off that hand. Or if the board covers low, I don't think he's gonna bluff me enough, and I will be able to bring my shows, my pocket 4s to showdown against like ace king, ace queen, etc., king queen, where I don't think he's gonna put enough pressure on me. So as long as the price is good enough and he's gonna play a somewhat face up post, I think it's gonna be a fine strategy to call these pocket pairs here. A hand that I wouldn't want to call would be a hand like 10-9 suited, where even if I hit my pair, I'm gonna be dominated quite a bit. Defending here blind big blind, facing half pot against small sizing, we have an easy call. I think even against half pot we still need to call. But I think raising now is a bit too weak, but I think call is still fine with an over backdoor flush draw. Turn, I think I will check behind and then bluff this on the river. I think diamonds, I'm not too great to bluff here. Also I'm gonna have some 5-4, 4-3 hands that I can use as a bluff here. Interesting river. If he would have bet, we could have considered bluff raising our hand, blocking his river, queen 4s, pocket 4s, but now we just check and hope to win. And we lose against pocket 5s, that's fine. Opening the ace jack, folding the queen 10. So yeah, I think a fine floater on turn, I think a fine check back, right? Mainly planning to bluff this hand on maybe like a card that comes between the deuce and the 6. Five 4 I'll fold. 10-9 I'll defend blind be blind. Can also go for a 3-bet sometimes. 8-3 I'm just folding. Opening the king 9 suited, king jack out, 3-bet. If he opens, and now mainly folding, facing a 3-bet. Although again this sizing is smaller, so we have all options again. I don't mind then going for 4-bet once he goes so small. This is a hand that kinda can do anything against the smaller sizing. It's the larger sizing, it's just gonna be a fold. I think it performs a bit better as a 4-bet, you know, folding hands that dominated like king queen off and ace jack off. While calling here, I'd rather, you know, if I had a hand like pocket deuces that is maybe indifferent against the larger sizing, I would just pure call it now, given that he sized down a bit. Pocket 7s against a larger 3-bet, good sizing by him. I think it's just a defend. Don't think I want to 4-bet this. I don't think I can fold 7s. I could maybe fold deuces or 3s. What a flop. The queen 6 I'll defend on the right hand side. Mainly planning to check raise against the small sizing in my sets here. Even against the larger size, I think I can still check raise this. I don't think I need to go particularly large. I think like a 33%, like a bit larger than a min raise, right? I'm just trying to make him fold his air hands that you see, but if I were bluffing, right? but still want to build the pot against his king X, and kind of also put, you know, hands like queens, jacks, tens in the tough spot. Calling would be fine too, for sure. But I think mainly here sets just check raise here. His c-bet sizing is fine. Nothing wrong with going half pot here. Ace 8 against a weaker player. I will start with a small c-bet, just because I have second pair with my top pair would maybe size up, and then our plan is to check back on the turn and evaluate on the river depending on the sizing that we see. And the run out. Yeah, and against this half pot size, it's not great. His bluffs get there, but he might turn. You know, has some king jack, king queen that he could bluff here. Maybe he has some backdoor clubs that he could be bluffing here. I think against this sizing we just have to press call here. Here's ace 4 rivered. The flush decided to go for small sizing. Fine with me. I think if the flush doesn't complete, it's a snap call. I think with the flush completing, still a call, because probably he's playing ace 4 of clubs the same way. Right, against this very small sizing. We just get a bit too good of a price here, and you know, is he value betting 9x for his sizing? Probably not. Even question is, does he even value bet a 10 when a flush completes and there's a straight out there? So that's the reason why recreations very often overbluff, because they're not going for enough for value. We're nearing the half an hour mark, and the tables also seem to slow down for some reason. So we'll play a couple more hands and then sit out next big blind. I think there were some interesting spots. I hope you enjoyed it. So let's sit out next big blind. But if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments. Here I don't mind going for a 3-bet blind with blind. Against recreationals, I usually try to just go linear and 3-bet my best hands, as they will not 4-bet me enough, and you know, I'll win bigger pots post flop with hands that are pretty marginal either way. Starting with a small c-bet. If I had a stronger king, I also wouldn't mind sizing up here, but my plan with this king X is probably just to bet the flop, check back turn, and call river, or bet the flop, bet the turn, and then check back river. I think here I'll stick with the plan of checking back and now calling the river. Obviously 10 is not great, we would prefer to see a brick, but unless he jams, I don't think I would be folding here. You know, if he has missed diamonds, probably quite likely to bluff them on the river. If he checks, we have an easy value bet, and now we just have an easy call. We block 7-8, which is great. You know, he could be bluffing his missed diamonds, ace of hearts, backdoor draws, sometimes even worse. And then this time we lost against king queen, which is fine. Yeah, let's update the graph. So yeah, 1/2 stack a stack, if you can see that there. Let me know what you think, if there's some interesting spots, and see you in the next one.